Hi, my name is Sunny Evenson, and I'll be doing a poetry analysis video of Explaining My Depression to My Mother, a Conversation by Sabrina Benaim. First, when we approach the poem, who's the speaker? So the speaker in this poem is Sabrina herself, and the audience is her mother. She's having a conversation with her mom of depression and trying to explain the depths of it to her mom. What made this poem come to be is the depression itself, obviously, but more so the tug of war inside of her in the confusion of it. I'll explain. Whenever she is talking in the poem, you can feel the tension in her speech of, this is the way that depression is making me feel, but this is the way I know that I should feel. And you can feel her fighting back a little bit, but the confusion is the ever-present thing that is holding her down. And you can also tell that her mother has no idea, and she has no idea how to understand the depression. She can see that her daughter is depressed, but she's not understanding like why, because it's evident that her mom, from what you can see, has never been depressed, because whenever you try and explain depression to someone who's never been depressed before, it's very difficult because they've never had these unexplainable feelings before. And so how could you expect them to understand? And so you can kind of see that in this poem with her mother. An example here is Sabrina says, insomnia sweeps me up in his arms, dips me in the kitchen in the small glow of the stove light. Insomnia has this romantic way of making the moon feel like perfect company. And her mom says, try counting sheep. But for me, that's an example of her not understanding, because whenever someone's depressed and they're not understanding what's happening, you can't just say, well, just go do this, just go be happy. It kind of just shows what she's trying to give her a solution, but she's not understanding what her daughter's telling her. And the tone of the poem is definitely, it's not loneliness, it's not insomnia, like it's not all of these products of depression. I have seen that in this poem the tone is more in the confusion. You can see that she describes depression as a shapeshifter, and 1 second it's a firefly and the next it's a bear. And you can see that in this poem she's describing the depths of this illness, and in that the tone is very much confusion. At least that's what I have gathered, because even in the end, she says, I'll never truly know everywhere I've been. Mom still doesn't understand. Mom, can't you see? Neither can I. And so you can see that there's this tug and pull. It's between her and the depression. It's the depression saying, you want to stay home. You don't want to go party. All of these things. But she's saying, but I know I should want to. And that questioning that she's having is her pushing back against the illness that she has. And for sound, this poem definitely does have an important sound, and it definitely has a rhythm. And so I noticed immediately that this poem was never meant to stay on paper. It was meant to be read aloud, because in the way that she reads it, you feel the depth of everything that she's saying, even that much deeper. But when you just read it, it's not the same. And so I gathered And I believe that this was not meant to just stay on paper. She did a wonderful job of expressing it in a verbal way. And it's not meant to stay on paper. Imagery in this poem, as I've said before, she describes it as a shapeshifter, as a firefly, as a bear. And she even brings anxiety in and familiarizes us with a common situation, a common dynamic that we're exposed to of anxiety is the cousin visiting from out of town that depression felt obligated to invite to the party. Mom, I am the party, only I'm a party I don't want to be at. And so she invites this situation that we're all familiar with of, oh, you got family in town, you have to bring them to this party that you were invited to. And so not only does she give things like a firefly or a bear for us to, see what this depression is like, but she gives situations of what depression is making her feel. And like depression is like almost forcing her to have anxiety. And so it has that kind of imagery there. And the last thing is, if the poem is a question, what is the answer? And in this poem, I gathered that there is a question. And it's, what is depression? She's trying throughout this whole thing to describe what is depression and what does it entail, and how do I push through? How do I get that hope? How do I get that light at the end of the tunnel, And I don't necessarily think that there's an answer in this poem. She may have found an answer, but even at the end that I've read before, she says, but I'm just a careless tourist here. I will never truly know where I've been. Mom still doesn't understand. Mom, can't you see? Neither can I. And so she closes with this kind of this heaviness of, I've recognized that I'm feeling all these things, but I still don't know what to do. I still don't know the answer. I still don't know how to get out of this depression. And so maybe the answer to her depression is her writing all of this out and voicing it, because I can see that in the tension of her talking against the depression and saying like, I know I should want to do this, but I feel like I need to do this. That's her fighting back. And she may not see that in the poem itself, but I know that that's what's happening as she wrote this, that the fighting back, the tension, is her fighting back against this depression, and maybe the poem itself is the answer. Well, thank you so much, and I hope this wasn't too long, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Bye.